It's June 18th, 1815. A man sits alone on a ridge in Belgium, staring at the bodies of 50,000 soldiers. His army, the greatest military force Europe had ever seen, is gone, shattered in a single afternoon. His name is Napoleon Bonaparte, and just 20 years earlier, he was nobody. If you're new here, this channel covers the greatest rises and falls in human history. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Napoleon was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, barely French, barely relevant. His family had minor noble roots, but no money, no power, no connections. He was mocked at military school for his accent. His classmates called him the foreigner. But Napoleon had one thing no one else did: an obsession with war that bordered on madness. He read military history the way other men read scripture. By 16, he had memorized the campaigns of Caesar, Alexander, and Hannibal. Then, France exploded. The revolution of 1789 tore the old world apart. Aristocrats fled, experienced generals were executed or exiled, and into that vacuum stepped a 24-year-old artillery officer with cold gray eyes and an iron will. At the Siege of Toulon in 1793, Napoleon did what every other commander had failed to do. He retook the city from British forces in weeks. Paris noticed. 3 years later, he was given command of the Italian campaign. His troops were starving, underpaid, and demoralized. Napoleon stood before them and said, "I will lead you into the most fertile plains in the world. Rich provinces and great cities will be in your power. There you will find honor, glory, and riches." They believed him, and he delivered. Before we get into what happened next, if this story is already pulling you in, hit the like button. It helps more people find this channel. Between 1796 and 1807, Napoleon won battle after battle in a streak that history has never repeated. Lodi, Rivoli, Marengo, Austerlitz, Jena, Friedland. He rewrote the rules of war: speed, deception, flanking maneuvers. While other armies marched in rigid formation, Napoleon moved like water, striking where his enemies were weakest. By 1804, he had crowned himself Emperor of France in Notre Dame Cathedral. The Pope himself attended, but Napoleon took the crown from his hands and placed it on his own head. A deliberate statement: I answer to no one. At his peak, Napoleon controlled directly or indirectly nearly half of Europe. He installed his brothers as kings of Spain, Holland, and Westphalia. He restructured the legal systems of conquered nations with the Napoleonic Code, laws that still shape France and much of Europe today. He was 35 years old, and that was the problem. Power at that scale requires enemies to stay afraid, but Napoleon couldn't stop, couldn't consolidate. Every solution created a new war. The continental system, his economic blockade of Britain, was brilliant in theory and catastrophic in practice. It strangled European trade, alienated allies, and pushed neutral nations into Britain's arms. Portugal refused to comply, so Napoleon invaded. Then Spain rose up. What started as a quick operation became a 6-year guerrilla nightmare that drained 300,000 French lives. Tsar Alexander of Russia, watching France strangle European commerce, quietly reopened Russian ports to British goods in 1810. Napoleon viewed it as a personal betrayal. He made his decision. Russia would be punished. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Napoleon's decision to invade Russia was pure arrogance, or did he have no real choice? We'll get into why in just a moment. In June 1812, Napoleon crossed into Russia with 685,000 men, the largest army ever assembled in European history. By December, fewer than 100,000 walked out. The Russians didn't defeat him in battle. They retreated. They burned their own cities rather than let Napoleon take them. They let the Russian winter do the killing. Moscow fell and was an empty shell already burning when the French arrived. Napoleon sat in the Kremlin for 5 weeks, waiting for a peace offer that never came. Then the cold hit, minus 37 degrees. Horses died, guns froze, men lost fingers, toes, feet. The retreat became a death march. Europe sensed blood. Prussia, Austria, Sweden, nations that had bowed to Napoleon for a decade now rose together. At the Battle of Leipzig in 1813, Napoleon faced combined armies totaling 380,000 men. He lost. Paris fell in March 1814. Napoleon abdicated and was exiled to the island of Elba. He escaped 10 months later, raised an army in days, marched on Paris, and the soldiers sent to stop him joined him instead. This is the part most history classes skip entirely. If you want more stories like this, the ones they don't tell you, subscribe to Modern Collapse. New video every week. But the old magic was gone. His body was failing. His judgment, once surgical, was now erratic. And at Waterloo, a single afternoon undid everything. This time, exile was permanent. St. Helena, a remote volcanic island in the South Atlantic, 1,200 miles from the nearest coastline. He never left. Napoleon died in 1821 at the age of 51, cause of death listed as stomach cancer. Though some historians believe he was slowly poisoned, the arsenic levels in his hair samples were 6 times the normal level. Even in death, the man invited conspiracy. He rose from nothing, built an empire that stretched across a continent, and lost it all within a single generation. He reformed law, education, and banking in ways that still exist today. He also caused the deaths of somewhere between 3.5 and 6 million people. Was Napoleon a genius or a monster? He was both, and that's exactly why the world couldn't look away. If you made it this far, you already know the answer. Leave a comment below, genius or monster. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. More collapses are coming.